Okay, welcome to this video. In this video, we'll develop a small, simple REST API. REST API, it is just to get some department information. Department information, there is a service that will hold some department information. You can request and get the data. So REST API, the service is there. You need a client. The client could be another application that you write, you're programming, or I mean by writing a code you can access it and then get the data back, call the service and get the data back, or you can use some client just for testing, just like POSTMAN, that can send the request and then get the data back. So yes, I will be using Springboot, Java Springboot, and in the back MySQL. Okay, so this is one of the example. You can just do it step by step. I think for the most part it works, but you just need to be careful in terms of platform, right? Platform or the corresponding versions of the Java and all those things. You just need to be careful on those things. And if you know how to build and compile and run on IntellijIDEA, then it will be good. You can use Eclipse, but I think I will be showing in the IntellijIDEA. Okay, so yeah, it is just in REST template. I think they are just showing if there are two REST service, one can call the other. That's the thing. But in my case, I will be just using some POSTMAN, call it and get the data back. Okay. So let's see. Department service. Okay, let's start it. Run. Okay, my MySQL may not be running, so that can create some trouble. Let's run the MySQL. So I'm using XAMPP or XAMPP, whatever you say, MySQL. Okay, this is supposed to run. Okay, the last time I ran this service, it can be a couple of days back. Okay, let me see. So you can see it, I think it's running the service. Now I'm going to departments. This is the local host ET80. It's actually running the Tomcat. I think it automatically starts the Tomcat, but it could also used Netty without Tomcat. Okay, so send. Okay, departments 2. Again, the service name is actually department. I believe I have created 2 of them, departments, and I think in another demo I actually created department 2, but for whatever reason the demo did not got recorded properly, so I'm just doing it again. Just department ID 0 is this, department ID 1 is this. I don't think there is anything called 2 department. It's just a department information in some applications, and then you just get it right. Okay, so let me show you the MySQL as well then. I believe this is the one that connects to the local. Okay, select all from, okay, let's don't go department DB. Okay, so that you can know it, right? Okay, so you know by this time what you saw so far, you saw there is a department service running, right? And for that you need MySQL database service running and Tomcat or some Netty web server, so they are running in that environment. And then I used POSTMAN, that is connected to specific URL to get the data back. Okay, those URLs you define inside your API development, right? In the REST API, you define those. What is the API URL and some syntax, right? Okay, so you will have some service or method function implemented. So those URLs will go to that corresponding places and call a particular method, and do the job, right? So yeah, that's how it works. I think it's pretty simple. I think for each of the service requests, you define a method. It goes there and it executes that method and brings the data back. And which one goes where, for that you can define some sort of controller, right? In the MVC framework, it is something similar controller, right? In the controller, you define all the path and those services. Let's say service implementation methods to provide those services, right? And in this example, we will also use JPA. It is such sort of object relational mapping kind of things. It maps the database table in some sort of objects, right? So in that case, you really do not need to write some code to bring the data and show it. If you just map it correctly, to keep the connection to the database, connected, connection parameters are correct, and represent which JPA object class is representing which tables. If you can just map this well, then you do not need the specific or you do not need to write those things explicitly. Explicitly, that's what I'm saying. It just maps and then brings that you can also insert, right? So those are the things. Okay, let me see. So what will be the steps to develop, right? What will be the steps to develop? In terms of tools, I'm using IntellijIDEA. You can use Eclipse as well. And I see that Visual Studio Code or NetBeans IDE, your choice. Okay, so that is the coding development, and then you need MySQL. So on the coding, Springboot framework, right? Java Springboot framework that you need, JDK that you will need, and then you will need some other libraries like Lombok, JPA, MySQL driver that you need to utilize in your project in the IntellijIDEA or Springboot application, right? Okay, so what are the steps? It is simple. Let's say to start a Springboot REST API. Okay, I'm just describing first, and then I will show this step by step, right? Just get some concept in your head, and then just when I do it, you can see it, right? So it is just same thing in two different ways and two different times, so that you can relate. Okay, well, let's say. So first, as usual, you need to create a project, right? You need to create a project. For project creation, what you can do, you can start.spring.io. Start.spring.io. You go there, that URL, and select what your project is about, right? You give a project name, service name, package name, or something else, or which JDK you are using, and you will be using Maven or Gradle. We'll be using Maven here, right? Maven, Gradle. Select one of those. So output, you want a jar file or WAR file. We'll use jar file here. JDK, which version, whatever version is there. Okay, and then you need to connect, right? Spring framework, Springboot framework, it comes with the Spring Web library when it comes to start.spring.io. So RESTful API and other web. So then you need the MySQL driver, JPA data, and Lombok, right? JPA data is for the ORM mapping. Okay. So let's now see it. Okay. So let me see. So as I was saying, okay, this is the advertisement. Okay. So Springboot microservices communication is so I think you can follow it step by step. Okay, so Springboot project. So it points to start.spring.io. Okay, so it's a Maven project. Maven, it's a build tool, you can say, Java. Let's take the latest one and com ca.811tech. ca.811tech. Okay, department service. Department service 3. Department service 3. So jar file, Java 21. Dependencies. So let's see SPRI Spring Web. Okay, Spring Web, Spring Data JPE, Lombok, and then MySQL driver. If you use MySQL database, then MySQL driver. If you use PostgreSQL, corresponding driver. Okay, so after generation it will create a zip file, then you need to unzip it, and then you need to open it in Spring IDEA, IntelliJ. So Spring IDEA, not IntellijIDEA, right? I'm using IntelliJ Ultimate. IntelliJ Ultimate, that's what I'm using, right? If you create generate, it will just save it. It will just save it somewhere. Okay, whatever it is, then unzip it and then open it, right? Okay, so let's say after you open it, you will just have this one, nothing else will be there. Okay, only this file will be there, department service application. And if you want to use the department service 2 or 3, so corresponding things will be there. Nothing is there, only this thing will be there, right? And initially you'll also have it. I believe it will have it, I think, when depending on the I think package name and whatever we gave there, depending on that it will have it, right? Yeah, package name, so it will have it, right? Package will have it, and then this only coding file that will have it there, right? Okay, so now after that what you need to do, I think you want database, right? So you need to keep the database properties here, application properties. Okay, so localhost, this is the port where the MySQL is running, and department DB, right? Okay, so username and password. Okay, this is what you need to know. And there is one important file, this configuration files, it will be here, right? So initially, because you selected Java 21 or 17, it will have like this 21, but I don't have 21 installed. Okay, I don't have it here, but I believe I have a virtual box. There I have got 21. Okay, so this is what you need to do, one of the important thing. And take a look what is in there. Sometimes you may try to add more dependency here. Okay, now properties, module settings. Okay, let's say project settings. Okay, I'm using JDK 18, modules 18, right? Okay, those are the main two things that you need to. Definitely JDK home path, I believe it will automatically come when you select the JDK version, right? So it will be there. So after that, what is your job, right? After that, what is your job, right? After that you need to build it, right? After that you need to build it and then execute it, right? Build it and execute it. Okay, at that point your MySQL will need to be there. MySQL will need to be running there, right? Okay, so let's say build module. Okay, I believe a good idea will be just stop it, stop process finished with exit code, let's say run. So it is already stopped, right? Now build module, right? So we can see the build screen. Executing post compile tasks. Okay, you will also see different you may also see something like this. Okay, so after building you need to run it. Okay, let's say build and run. I think initially you will not have all of those. Just change the Java version, give the MySQL properties. If you can build and run, so you have got something, right? Now it's a matter of all of those things. Okay, first thing is, let's say you have the database. You need to create the database. So department DB, we have created the database. Okay, we have created the database. That's fine, and we already have given the database related information here, right? Department DB, okay, and credentials. Okay, so now you need to create the mapping of the database tables into Springboot repository, right? So create a repository folder or the repository package. You can say right click new package. In that case, you can just keep name repository. It will create the repository, right? After repository, you can create write new. If it is a class, then new Java class, and if you want to use interface, still it will be under Java class. Okay, new Java class. Okay, no, I think it's not the repository, it will be the entity. Okay, it is the entity. I believe for whatever reason I was looking at a repository. Okay, so entity, the same thing, right click new package, and then new, depending on class or interface. Yeah, Java class, then if you want interface, it will be inside there. Okay, public class department, right? Public class department. Now you are giving all the database fields, database table fields, corresponding variable here, right? Corresponding variable in the for the database fields. Table inspector. Okay. Okay, columns, right? So yeah, you have created the table using some SQL or interface, whatever. Now for each of the columns you need to give it, right? The ID, we are using ID as a primary key, and also it is a sequence, right? It is a sequence. So this is something like this, generator sequence. Okay, these are something you need to just little bit know in terms of this JPA data and annotations. Okay, so another thing, when you try to build it, right? When you try to build it, it may ask you enable annotation processing or those kind of things. In general, you'll be enabling it, and we're just giving some details. What is this entity about, right? Okay, so these are something in general we put. Okay, so that's database mapping is done, right? Database mapping is done, and you also need to define this interface. Okay, now you need to implement the services, right? Service, I think service interface and the service implementation, right? Service, this is the interface. I think you create a package service and then new Java class, and then you select the service, right? So these are two different things. One thing is save department, another thing is the get department by ID. What is this get department? Get department is this one, right? We are trying to taking the department ID and showing the department. So it is just the interface, it is just how the class will look like, right? It's what are the different services that our API will provide, okay. So in the implementation, it will extend that, right? It will extend or implement that interface, right? Because this is Java's implement, right? Okay. So you can write it like this. Okay, it is returning. Okay. Department repository type. This department repository type. Okay. So when you are saving, then we are calling the save method. When we are retrieving it, we are doing the find by ID method, right? Okay. I think this save find by ID, it is just sort of defined. It is extending here, right? Extending here, it will be coming from there. Okay. So that goes the implementation part, right? It's pretty simple, just mapping and then saving and retrieving functions, right? It's pretty simple. And this is it is already get written entity mapping. Now we are left with the path mapping, right? Controller, department controller. In the controller, you can see API departments, right? API department, that is the where this controller, I think this controller will get mapped into this URL, or this URL maps into this controller, right? So API departments. And then if you give ID, if you get ID, then what it is doing, it's department by ID, and then department service, it is calling department service from the service, and then passing this ID. This ID, it is being passed there, right? And in terms of saving, all the request body is sending as a department class object, and then it is being getting saved, right? That's all about it. Let me see if there is anything else I need to show. pom.xml. That's fine. Okay, it's just building and all those things. Let me see what they are doing here, right? The same thing, initialization, they are showing the POM, configuring MySQL, department JPA entity, JPA repository, and then the service layer, service implementation, controller. Yes, you can also use this mbn Springboot run. You can use command, that's fine. Okay, they are creating another user service, and from that user service they will be calling this back, right? I think the main calling related code, anyway, I think that can be a different topics. Okay, bye.